Wow, I have so much I want to talk to you about this week, but I got to fit it in like in 10 minutes because at 3 o'clock, the football game's starting, and I don't want to miss the football game. I love football so much, but I'm going to try to cram everything I want to say into this little 10-minute block. Maybe I'll go over time a little bit. Sometimes the game doesn't start right at 3. It starts like at 3:05, but I'm going to really try to condense everything. I know you like long videos. So, you know what? Maybe football will take a little backseat for a bit. It won't kill me to miss 10 minutes of a preseason game. But if I seem a little rushed, that's probably why. But anyway, I just got back from a run today. I go sprinting every Sunday, or try to. During the week at the gym, I don't get a chance to get out and run. But during the weekends, on Sunday, I like to go out on the back street and just run sprints. I'm not a big fan of distance running for a lot of miles, but I'm a huge proponent of high intensity, short bursts. There's a lot of research on it. It's 10 times more beneficial to do sprint interval training than it is to just do a jog. You know, I really like walking. I like the low intensity stuff. There's a lot of benefits. The positives, the pros far outweigh the cons on that, and I really like high intensity sprint interval training because the pros far exceed the cons on that one. And then you have the gray area, the jogging, the distance running, the 5Ks, the 10Ks, the marathon running. That I'm not too high on that. I used to do it. I used to do distance running, jogging. You know, you get your heart rate up to about 85%. You keep it there for an hour or so, or you go on these long runs. Marathons can take 3, 4, 5 hours to run. But the problem with that is over time you wear on your joints. It does strengthen your bones because it is impact, but the problem is it really wears on your knees and your hip joints, and it wears on the collagen because you have the ball and you have the socket of your joint, and it's constantly rubbing up against each other like this, and you keep on doing it, and it doesn't give your body time to repair itself, so eventually it wears down and you start getting this bone-on-bone grinding. And you'll find that 65 to 95% of all marathon runners have some form of a knee or a hip joint problem, or they have a problem with their iliotibial band, the tendon that runs down this leg right here from here to here. They have a lot of issues, a lot of pain. Most marathon runners do experience pain. So I'm not a really big. I'm not big into that. And also running long distances produces high levels of cortisol, and cortisol is your stress hormone. Your stress hormone. Anytime you have inflammation, your body releases this. If you don't get enough sleep, your body is very high in cortisol. If you experience a lot of stress at work, your cortisol levels go up. So when you put that tremendous amount of stress on your body like that over and over and over again, you become very catabolic, and that means your body's constantly breaking down. If you compare the pictures, if you take a sprinter, someone that runs these short bursts at very high intensities, and then you look at a distance runner, a marathon runner, and you compare and contrast the two, you'll find that the sprinter is very, very muscular, and they look very healthy, and they look full. And then you look at a marathon runner, and not every marathon runner is thin. A lot of them are carrying a little excess weight around the midsection. Some of them are just very, they look very, very thin and frail. They don't have a lot of musculature. That's because marathon runners, first of all, their diets have to consist of a lot of calories and a lot of carbohydrates, and they constantly have to what they call carb load before runs, and they're constantly in a catabolic state, meaning they're always breaking down. Whereas sprinters, on the other hand, are in an anabolic state, or the building up of muscle, and they're primarily eating. They do eat carbohydrates for the quick bursts like that, but it's not primarily driven by that. They eat a lot of protein, and They look, to me personally, they look a lot more healthy. And you'll also find that sprinters rarely have heart problems. They never drop dead on a race. But marathon runners, on the other hand, there have been a lot of cases where they have heart attacks and they have a lot of heart problems. Now, the truth is, some of these people already have conditions pre-existing, but at the same time, what happens is your heart rate is you only take it to about 85%. You get very proficient at about 85%. So that from 85 to 100%, you're not very strong there. You're strong anything below 85%, but above 85%, you're not very strong. Your heart's not strong there. So what happens is, anytime your heart spikes above 85% and you're a marathon runner, if your heart's not strong there, you could potentially have a heart attack. Versus sprinting, where you're constantly getting your heart up to 95, 100% of its max, your heart is very strong there at its peak. So if your adrenaline kicks up and your heart rate goes up, your body's prepared for it. So that's why I really like sprint training. Not to mention, sprint training jacks your HGH, your human growth hormone levels up. It's terrific, builds your muscles because you have to really grind into the ground, and you don't have to waste as much time too. You can get out and do a sprint session in 20 minutes or less, 15 minutes. You get out there, you run your sprints, and you go back in, you're done for the day. Whereas steady state, you pretty much have to go out there and you have to run for an hour in order to really get any kind of cardiovascular benefit. Then there's walking, and walking I'm a huge fan of because it's low impact, it's easy on the joints, it burns fat, okay? Jogging burns glycogen. Walking primarily, it does burn fat, but it uses glycogen as its primary fuel source, and glycogen is the glucose that's stored in our muscles and liver. And then walking primarily burns fat, okay? So if you're walking, especially on an empty stomach, your body is going to use fat as its primary fuel source. And that's what's awesome about it, because if you do that first thing in the morning, if you just go out for a walk in the first thing in the morning, or you do it late in the evening after the food's already passed through your digestive system, your body's going to draw from its fat reserves, and it's going to burn that off rather than go after the glycogen in your muscles or the food that you've just eaten. So that's why I really like walking. Not to mention, it really, if you do a fast walk, it really strengthens the anterior tibialis, this muscle right here in the front of your shin, and jogging doesn't really target that. You'll find that if you walk at a really fast pace, this part right here gets really, really tight, and that's awesome for what we call dorsiflexion, or pulling the toe up, okay? And if you're a runner, that's great, because you always want to run with your toes up. You want to run the balls of your feet. So that strengthens that muscle that helps you pull your toes up and enables you to run on the balls of your feet. So that's why walking, in my opinion, is great if you're going to do sprint training, because it works kind of hand in hand. So you can see how passionate I am about this. I love it. I've done tons and tons of research. I practice it. Also, another thing is technique. Running technique is super important, because if your running technique is flawed, you can, number one, you can develop muscle imbalances, and you're reinforcing a flawed technique. So if possible, you need to really refine your running technique. I've studied it for years and years, trying to figure out the most efficient way to run, but also the most biomechanically correct way to run. If you're a sprinter, it's important, definitely, because it's going to make you more efficient. But if you are a distance runner, if you are a jogger, it's important too, because you are doing that repetitive motion over and over and over again. And when you do that, it just every rep you do, it is reinforcing it into what we call your muscle memory. It's your neuromuscular connection, your brain to your muscle. Okay, so every rep you do, every cycle, every time you cycle your foot on and off the ground, you are just kind of ingraining that into your body. So if you keep doing that with a bad technique, you're just going to reinforce that, and it's going to be a very tough habit to break. I was lucky enough to not have any of that problem, because growing up I didn't really I didn't log enough hours in that, and I didn't have a bad technique. I didn't really have any technique at all. So when I started getting into it, I had, kind of like a clean slate. So, to get that impression of the correct technique was very easy for me compared to these elite athletes that I was actually training with at the time. These guys that play professional football had a very hard time picking it up because they have already developed the bad techniques. So if you can develop those good techniques before you develop the bad techniques, it's going to make it a lot easier to run correctly. So anyway, that's my little tangent on running. I love running. It's a total body exercises, but sprinting and a steady state walking, those are the two opposite ends of the spectrum, and those are the ones that I really like. Jogging's in that gray area. Not a big fan of that. The only time I would recommend distance running is if you just want to do a marathon just because it's a personal goal of yours, okay? That would be the only time I'd recommend it. But to be a person that just runs marathon after marathon after marathon constantly, you're basically asking for trouble later on in life. You're asking for really bad joint problems, and just a lot of people do that to lose weight, and it's not the best way to lose weight. You'll find that a lot of marathon runners tend to carry the spare tire, and that's because number one, your cortisol levels are up, and when your cortisol levels are up, your body tends to retain fat. So that's one reason why stress. When you stress the body like that over long periods of time, your body retains fat. When you have to carb load, so your carbohydrate intake has to be extremely high. So if you ever run a marathon and then you stop running a marathon, you're done. Time to down one. Well, you're used to eating tons of carbohydrates, tons of calories. It's kind of hard to kind of back down to a rate that enough carbohydrate that you don't need. I mean, to get rid of the carbs that you don't need anymore for training, you're kind of still eating that, so it makes it hard to readjust. So you're still eating like you're running a marathon. You gain your weight back. So that's that. There are pros to jogging, certainly. I just feel that the cons outweigh the pros, and there are better ways of doing it. Moving on. What was I going to talk about? Yes. I know a lot of my past videos I've been talking about being positive and having a positive attitude. I was just going back and looking through some of my older videos from a few weeks ago, and I really there was one in particular. I just wanted to basically grab myself by the shoulders, shake myself like this, and say, Nathaniel, what are you doing? What are you doing? Slap myself in the face a little bit, knock out, I want to, slap myself out of it because I just looked so depressed. The energy level was low, the negativity level was high. I'm like, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? It's kind of interesting because I felt like I was a different person there. I'm trying to talk to my past self, and it's so frustrating because it's like, man, what are you doing? Why are you so negative, man? Get out of it. I don't like looking at myself in that state. And when you're in that state all the time, you can't inspire people. You can't motivate people. You can't even motivate yourself when you're in that state. You bring people down. People don't want to hang around you when you're in that state. And that's why it was so frustrating for me to watch, because I'm thinking, man, what am I doing? Here I'm trying to be a positive person. I'm trying to uplift everybody. I'm trying to promote this great, good atmosphere that's going to edify people and attract them, because people are attracted to positive people and they are repelled from negative people. That's a fact. But I was just in there just kind of moping, woe is me, curse the world, everything's going against me, blah, 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 blah. That's kind of what I heard. I heard blah, 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 woe is me, blah, 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 blah. That's no good. Now, at the same time, I did have to get some things off my chest, and in that respect, it was good. but it's just not something that should it doesn't have any place. I think, at least in my life, and I'm trying to get out of that habit. And it's so easy to be negative. It really is a lot easier to be negative than it is to be a positive person. It's easy to go to a restaurant and complain about the food. It's easy to complain about your work hours. It's easy to complain about your teachers or how much homework you're getting or the test that you just had or that you don't have any time to do anything. It's easy to complain about maybe the little bit of fat that you have on your body. You're not completely happy with your self-image. It's so easy to do that, and it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of character to go and try to find the positive things about such situations. Instead of complaining about the teacher and the homework, maybe look at a positive approach. Hey, I'm learning something, I'm bettering myself. I didn't know this stuff before I went to the class and the teacher taught me and I did the homework. Or instead of looking at work as I got so many hours, I'm there all the time, well, maybe look at it as, hey, I'm getting extra hours, I'm making a little bit extra money, and there's a lot of people out there that don't even have a job, and I have a job. So looking at it from that perspective really helps us and helps our mind, and it really, a positive person isn't a selfish person. A positive person usually cares about others, whereas a negative person is kind of all focused on me, woe is me. So, and that's really a principle of God. That's one of his that's what his law is based on. Love towards God and love towards neighbor. Not love towards self. Right? And it's all me. No, we want to always have that outgoing concern for everybody else. Love everyone else as you love yourself. And that's another thing too, is a lot of people don't love themselves. They have problems with their self-image. They are constantly depressed, and that a lot of these issues are very deep down inside, and the best way to get over that is to, believe it or not, shift your concern to other people. And when you start looking at other people and caring for other people, you look back at yourself and you think, hey, maybe my life isn't as bad as I thought it was. And that's a hard thing to do sometimes. I will, admit, when you are in a situation where everything's going against you and you're having all these problems and trials, it's very hard to look at, look out there and look at other people's problems and try to help them when you're dealing with your own issue. I kind of liken it to dealing with pain. If you bang your head on a steel bar and you have this big headache and all you can think about is the pain, right? Well, that's kind of like when you're going through a trial or a problem. All you can think about is your own pain, and that's that's just the way it is. You just have to go ahead and cope with it, and then when the pain subsides, which it will, then you can go ahead and address the issue and move on and start caring about other people, and stop worrying about trivial things going on in your life. But not to say that things are trivial, but there are people out there that are going through much worse things than we certainly all are, and I have that problem too, where I get caught up on my own things, and they're really nothing compared to what others are going through. But anyway, I wanted to mention something about the positive-negative ratio. Have you ever heard of the positivity-negativity ratio? Okay, this is a real ratio. It really exists. They've done lots and lots of scientific research on this, and it's very, very interesting. What it is when you are dealing with people, you want to provide 5 positive comments to every 1 negative criticism. Okay, 5-to-1 ratio, and it might even be as high as 6-to-1. Okay, they've done studies on sports teams where the ratio for the best performing team was actually 6 positive comments to every 1 negative criticism. Okay? The worst team had a reverse ratio. It was 3 negatives to every 1 positive. And it was by far the worst performing team. Okay? And now, they also took this from sports teams and they did a study back in 1994 on marriages. And they found that the most successful, flourishing marriages, the ratio was 5-1. 5 positive comments to every 1 negative criticism within the marriage. They found that the marriages that ended in divorce, those were 2 negatives to every 1.5 positives. 2 negative comments to every 1.5 positive comments. Okay? So there is it's real. It's real. And it's so easy to criticize people, and it's hard to compliment people sometimes, especially if you are a coach or a teacher. One thing that I have learned over the years, one thing that's been I constantly try to work on, is the way I coach kids. If a kid is performing a drill, okay, and they're not particularly athletic, and they're struggling, well, what I do is I try to pick out the one thing that they are doing good, and I want to compliment them on that. I want to give them positive reinforcement on that. Instead of constantly telling them what they're doing wrong, I want to tell them what they're doing right. Okay? I think that can apply to a lot of things in life. You never want to keep dogging people. The world is so full of negativity. You don't want to constantly bring people down and criticize them and tell them what they're doing wrong. Tell people what they're doing right for a change, right? Tell somebody what they're doing right, because people they're always hearing what they're doing wrong. Hear what they're doing right. Let them hear what they're doing right. And it makes a big difference. It makes a big difference. Their head comes up, their chest comes up, they swell up with confidence when they know that they're doing something right for a change, because all they hear is, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong, right? So I just wanted to kind of run that through, because the world is a negative place, and it's easy to be negative, and we are just constantly surrounded by it, right? So let's make a change out there. Let's get that positive stuff. Let's get some positive vibes coming in here. I hope my positive vibes will come through the camera, because I know you're amazing. Anybody that's watching this, you are soaking it all in, right? Soaking it all in, and I hope that I am uplifting you when you hear me talk, when I'm out here or in my room or whatever, talking to you through the camera. I hope that you are just feeling really good about yourself, and hey, you know what? Yeah, let's go ahead and be positive people. And I know that I've noticed that this Just Nate series, it was just going to be me talking about random things, and I still am. But let's have a purpose to this. Let's not just let this be me talking about random drivel in my life. Let me actually put this out rather than it just be some just nothing. Let's have it be productive. Let's be productive, right? So that's what I've kind of shifted gears over the last few episodes, and I want to be more. I want to giving through the lens. Anyway, oh man, my game has been on for 15 minutes. I'm running out of time. One more thing that I did want to run by before I go. I had this seminar. We had to go to the seminar as trainers at our health club. We brought this guy in. His name is Jim Rhodes. He's kind of a nutrition expert. He gave a 90-minute seminar. It was really great. I mean, it was so full of information. There's a lot of stuff that I already knew, so it kind of reinforced my own beliefs. And there were some things that I learned from his seminar that I didn't know, so I kind of had an opportunity to grow. But I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna throw some clips in at the end of this video, so that way you can kind of see what he was talking about, some of the highlights of it. But I really enjoyed his video. I mean, he talked about how your immune system is everything. If your immune system is shot, and it is. The nutrition in our food these days, there's nothing in it. It takes. I think he said 50 years ago, a bowl of spinach had X amount of iron in it, and today they did a study where I think you have to eat 50 bowls of spinach to equal the same amount of iron in one bowl 50 years ago. That's how nutrient depleted our food has become these days. And then he talked about cofactors in vitamins and minerals. So you could take a vitamin C, but if you don't take its mineral cofactors, which I believe he said was calcium, magnesium, and bioflavonoids, if you don't take that, if you don't take those cofactors with the vitamin C just passes right through and your body doesn't absorb it. So you could take all the vitamin C in the world, but if you're not getting those minerals, your body's not going to be able to use it. So all these people taking these multivitamins, they might not be getting the cofactors, and it's basically expensive urine, so to speak. So a lot of interesting things he had to say. So I'm going to put some of the highlights that I thought at the end of this video, and I might go ahead and just upload his whole lecture, so that way anybody that's interested can go ahead and take a look at it, because I guarantee you're going to learn a lot. And he's a very interesting person. He's like a grandpa when he talks. He is a grandpa, but he's just really, you're just drawn to what he has to say. So I just want to share that with you guys, because I feel that it's going to, I don't know if you guys are into health or anything, but health is a passion of mine, and I just want to share my passion with you guys. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and go inside and watch the football game, what's left of it. Hopefully the Saints win, but it's still preseason, so the game doesn't count. But I just like to go ahead and leave you with, continue, go out there, be positive, be awesome, be amazing, and don't let the world get to you, because you can make a difference. Don't let the world take you down. Bring the world up, okay? So until next Sunday, I'll see you guys later. Ciao.
We are a body of regeneration. Literally. You're regenerating while you're sitting here at the rate of approximately 1 billion brand new cells every single minute. To change out just one cell, just to build one cell, it takes 1 quadrillion pieces coming together correctly. Now my question is, that quadrillion pieces that makes the cell, where did those pieces come from? This is the basis of my whole talk. It's what I presented at Harvard. Where do you suppose the quadrillion pieces come from? They come from what you eat, what you drink, what you breathe. So if yesterday you ate Twinkies, today you got a whole bunch of Twinkie cells going on. If yesterday you ate food that was dense in nutrition, all the building blocks that you need, you got some incredible cells going on up here as well as everywhere else. Does that make sense? That's science, guys. This isn't just hyper stuff. This is proven science. What system is supposed to protect you from cancer? Your immune system. What can we conclude if cancer went from 1 out of 12 to 1 out of 2? Something's going wrong with our immune system. If your body is capable of producing up to 20 trillion immune soldiers, why aren't they doing their job? Let me tell you why. If you're eating a food that's incomplete, of the quadrillion pieces you need, then you're going to build a soldier with 1 leg, 1 arm, 1 eye, and no gun. And then you're going to wonder why in the world cancer hits you at age 20, 30, 40, 14. When the immune system goes sideways on you and you can't build soldiers, you are a wide open candidate. Does this make sense? Every major disease thrives in acidity. Every major disease likes an acid environment. Let's go from the most acid forming down. The highest: pork, beef, chicken, coffee, soda pop, sugar, Did I name anything that anybody eats in here? Hopefully not, because those are the most acid forming. It takes, in order to dilute one Coca-Cola, one soda pop, it takes 8 glasses of water to remedy the acidity of one Coke. That's the small bottle. And there's some people I've seen drink more than a small bottle. And then we wonder why we're popping antacid pills. All right? Now, when you get to the alkaline side, what's the most alkaline forming? They're all fruits and vegetables. And the lonely zucchini is the most alkaline of all. Your squash. Now, just how important are minerals? Are they important for life? Are they part of the quadrillion pieces that make up a soldier? Please go like this. Yes. When they're missing, that soldier doesn't have a gun or right leg or right arm. That's all. You put those back and suddenly everything appears, and they work as catalysts too. You might not know this, but in nature, and you know the way this was all set up, every plant you get that has vitamins has a cofactor of minerals. Every plant that has minerals has cofactor of vitamins. They work like this. You cannot absorb vitamins into the body without its cofactors of minerals. For instance, vitamin C, pretty important one, yes? What minerals do you need to absorb a vitamin C? Calcium and magnesium and biflavonoids. Without those 3, the vitamin C goes in this end and out the other end in your urine. Period. Your body cannot pull it in. Just the opposite. We need calcium, which is a needed mineral. What does it need to be absorbed by the body? Vitamin D3. And when it's like this, then it pulls it in. All the calcium in the world won't get in if you don't have enough D3. So hopefully all this is making sense. This is the way it was parallel. As soon as we took the minerals out of the picture, guess what's happening even to the vitamins that we're taking? We're having expensive urine. Does this make sense? You see, there are 4 pillars of health. If you'll make note of these, you guys are specialists in one of the pillars, and it's called exercise. And people who don't exercise, just like there are 4 legs on a chair, if you remove one of the legs, you can remain upright if you are conscious and remembering to not lean back. But should you ever relax and lean back on the missing one, what happens? You will crash. Any one of these 4 will bring you down. Lack of exercise, poor nutrition, stress management, and improper rest. If you ignore any of the 4, one will catch.